Hello and welcome, it's Chris from Christopher Holt Training, and welcome to this week's tutorial where we're going to be looking at what's the best foam roller for you. There are loads of different foam rollers out there, different shapes, different sizes, different softness and hardness. There's knobbly ones, there's smooth ones. So you've got to think about which one is going to work best for me and the symptoms that I'm showing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through 3 different foam rollers and what's called an orb ball here. Now they're sort of quite a broad range of them, so hopefully you can get an idea of the different types of foam roller out there and the types of ones that you would need to use and work with. But what we're going to do first is just talk about why would you use a foam roller. Well, foam rollers are great for massaging through muscles. Now you might have knots or trigger points, you might just have global tightness through a muscle. Now all that's happening there is, if you can imagine your muscle is a bag of straws, so you've got let's just say 200 different straws in here, and the straws have got that perforated bit where you're able to bend and twist and hold it in position. The only difference is that perforated bit goes the whole length of it, so it allows the muscle to get longer and to get shorter. Now what these bag of straws or what these muscle fibers need to do is they need to slide past each other, so they need to slide past each other like that. When you've got a tight and tender muscle, so a tight and tender global muscle, they're not sliding over each other. So when you use a foam roller, it helps do that. It also helps, if you've got knots and trigger points, it helps break those down and smooth those out. What will then happen is you'll reduce your tenderness, you'll reduce the pain that you're feeling, you'll also gain better function from the joint and from the muscle and the area of the body that you're working on. So hopefully that's just giving you a better idea of what you can use them for. They're kind of an alternative to or a sort of a self-massage or alternative to massage. I would never sort of say don't go for a massage, because it'll always be better if someone can get their hands and their forearms and elbows and things into your muscle, because that'll work that much better. But these are a great alternative for something that you can do on your own as a part of your weekly training regime, let's say, or your rehabilitation or whatever it might be. So what we're going to do now is go straight into the first foam roller, which is the most, let's just say the most basic and beginner one that you can get. And it's this blue one here, and it's a Physio World. You might not be able to see it on there, but it's a Physio World foam roller. It's the softest one of the 4 that we're going to be looking at. So this would be for the beginners. So if you've got an initial injury or an initial bit of tightness, then this is going to be the foam roller for you, because the harder the foam roller, the more sensitive and potentially greater pain that you're going to experience, which could eventually put you off straight away. So you want to start with something that can just introduce the muscle to it being massaged and being rolled over with these foam rollers. So what that will start to do is that will start on the very sort of superficial layers of the muscle. It will just start opening them up. Those muscle fibers will start to be able to slide over each other, and your range of movement will start to improve. Your pain will initially go down, because at the beginning you'll get quite a big progression, and then slowly but surely that progression will become less. So you've then got to work a little bit harder to get those progressions with it. So that's foam roller number 1, which is the Physio World, let's just say softest out of the 4 that we're going to be using, mainly for the beginners. Then we come on to foam roller number 2. Now foam roller number 2 is by Trigger Point Performance Therapy. You can see it written on the inside of the foam roller, but it's got a big sort of T on the outside that you can see there. Now this is still a relatively smooth foam roller, but it's a lot firmer. Because it's got this plastic ring in the middle, it maintains its firmness. What I didn't mention about the Physio World one is, because this is essentially a fully foam roller, it will lose its softness. So once you've had it for a couple of years, it will lose its softness. So you will need to upgrade these. These have a much longer shelf life because they've got that solid ring in the middle. And then the foam on the outside stays a lot more firm. But this is a lot more rigid, it's a lot more firm, so this will now start to go deeper into the muscle. The more firm and the more knobbly the foam roller, the deeper into the muscle it will go, and the more specific parts of the muscle you can start to get. Now, what they've got on here is this sort of ribbed foam on the outside. Now that's, they say, is meant to replicate the different types of massage and strokes that people would do with their hands. It will have an effect. I'm not sure how much it will replicate a proper massage, but it will certainly have an effect with the different ribs on it. And again, you would foam roll sort of back and forth over the muscle, but you can also sort of roll against the grain as well, or against the muscle fibers as well, which is always helpful. And that's what these ribbed foam rollers are great for. So the Trigger Point Performance Therapy foam rollers, they are great for someone who's potentially wanting an upgrade from the Physio World ones. They will go a little bit deeper into the muscle. They will, in some degree, create a little bit more pain, but you do want it to be uncomfortable. It wants to have a degree of pain, because then you know it's getting into a new part of the muscle. If you get to here and it's very easy, you're not feeling anything, that's because this isn't penetrating far enough into the muscle. So we would use something like this as an upgrade to start just pushing it a little bit further. What this will do, this will then loosen, again, the muscles that much more. What we then come on to is the final foam roller that I'm going to be showing you, which is a Starwood Sports foam roller. Now this is a little bit more chunky. Again, it's the same, it's got sort of the plastic in the center here, but what it's got these knobbly bits. Now these knobbly bits, you're going to be able to get a little bit more specific. Again, it's going to go that much deeper, because this is a little bit more firm than the Trigger Point Therapy one. So this is going to be, in some respects, or in its own way, it's going to be the most intense foam rolling. So once you've kind of gone through Physio World, you've upgraded into a Trigger Point, I would still recommend having a Trigger Point, but you might then want to upgrade into something like this, which is a little bit more knobbly, because this is now going to get further in. It's going to, in a sense, get deeper into the muscle and loosen up more of those fibers, because the further down into the muscle you can get, the better function that you're going to get from that muscle. This is the reason massage therapists and sports therapists go in quite hard and because they want to get nice and deep into the muscle. And that's essentially what these firmer foam rollers are trying to replicate and trying to do. So again, you can go sort of up and down the leg, or up and down the arm, or up and down the back, wherever it might be, but you can also roll it over against the grain and against the muscle fiber. So the movements and muscles that you can work on are pretty much identical between these two. This one's just a little bit more intense. And then the final one that we're going to be talking about is the orb ball. Now, the orb ball is a firm ball. It's relatively smooth, but what this one's allowing you to do is to go onto very specific parts of the muscle. Because the contact point is so much smaller, it's going to go into more specific parts of the muscle, and potentially, again, it's going to create even more pain. Because if you can imagine me pushing my hand into your leg or into this mat, it's going to create a certain indentation, but the surface area is quite big. But if I then went with my thumb, I can then push a much greater way down into the mat, and that's exactly what this ball's doing to your muscle. It's able to push further into the muscle, and then you can roll round and be in much more specific positions into the muscle. So you might just go into one part of the muscle, or you might feel a knotty part and you might just really push that into the knotty part of your body, which then again is potentially going to create even greater uncomfort levels. But by this point, you should be very familiar with the different levels of uncomfort or pain that comes with using a foam roller. But you should also be in a place where you've got sort of a reduced risk of injury. You're used to using them, and you've got a greater pain tolerance, so you're able to get that much deeper into the muscle and deeper into the tissues, freeing those tissues up so they can slide over each other and function a lot more effectively. So hopefully that's been of use to you. Hopefully it's given you a better idea of the different types of foam roller that are out on the market, the Physio World, the Trigger Point, and the Starwood Sports type of foam rollers. You've also got rumble rollers, which again are, let's just say, a more expensive knobbly roller, but it's a lot more knobbly than this one. So you've got different types of roller. You've got different types of balls you can use. You've also got lacrosse balls and hockey balls that you can use, tennis balls, golf balls, anything that is going to push into the muscle that you can move around and release different parts of the tissue. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. Hopefully it's given you a better idea and what type of foam roller that would be best for you or would be good for you. And you can go out now and buy the right one that's going to be best suited to you. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris. I'll speak to you in the next tutorial.